Welcome to the RPG Podcast.
And we are live.
Oh, God, Patton!
Presented by SHEATH. A Time Wheel production.
Hey, here we are. I'm here with, thank you everyone for joining us on another episode of the Robert Patton Global Podcast. I'm here today with a unique guest, Audie Brandon. Thank you for joining me, sir. How are you doing, Brandon?
Thank you, Bobby. I just wanted to, I just want to rebroadcast or whatever our initial conversation. I just want to thank you for your service. We kind of talked about that a little, about, it was really cool, under your name and your email. It said grateful to be alive. And I just wanted to, it's kind of a question that I'm sure you already have an answer to, but as far as, the civil unrest in 2020, I was really frustrated because I'm a very free speech type of, person, anti-censorship. And I would just kind of like to pick your brain a little bit about how did that feel to watch all that going down, knowing the sacrifices you've made?
It's ridiculous, in my opinion, that even hate speech supposedly is supposed to be free speech. The ACLU usually used to support all forms of speech, and now they're even like condemning certain phrases. And I think that personally, I love comedians who are pushing like boundaries, basically saying kind of what needs to be said, and we support, like, I find people that are kind of saying what I think needs to be said, and we support them because of the anti-movement toward that is so strong. I feel like people need to support free speech, basically.
100%. It's frightening. I mean, I'll say it out loud. I mean, it's the retaliation or whatever. It's beyond cancel culture. Cancel culture is a semantic. That's semantics. Not semantics. That's euphemistic. It's not cancel culture. It's beyond cancel culture. You have people going after people's livelihood, their families, their ability to support their families, and it's way beyond that. And it's the self-righteousness of the people that are doing it. It's weird because I have empathy, so it's like I get it. I think a lot of people think that they're like protecting other people and saving the world. And no, don't say those words because someone will be hurt somewhere. And I really think, I've heard about, colleges nowadays kind of like incorporating that into their, like, really making it that such an issue. And I don't know, it's extreme. Yeah, it's frightening, and it's weird because I have empathy. So it's almost like if someone doesn't support me or doesn't support somebody else that says something extreme, part of me is mad, and part of me is like, well, what do you expect? Like, if they have kids or they have, like they have to give up their dreams and everything they put into their life just to, it's just, it's beyond cancel culture. It's almost like canceling out people's lives.
Yeah, especially online. They might say, well, you can still say what you want in like person, but even still you have to probably whisper it because Alexa and Siri, they're all listening, and who knows when that'll be released. Like we caught him saying something he wasn't supposed to say. And personally, I think as long as you're not being mean, like intentionally to someone, saying F you, you dirty blank word, whatever slur it might be, if we're just kind of like joking around or singing to the lyrics of a rap song, and you're not being like, it's all about the intent to me.
Yeah. And go ahead, please.
Well, even still, I don't know. Like, even still, there still should be some freedoms. Even if you are just being an asshole, you should sometimes you have the right to be an asshole. Maybe you were in a bad mood. Should you be canceled for the rest of your life because you were on Ambien and sipping wine and you said someone looks funny or whatever? I don't.
Yeah. Well, and God, I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, but they want to be so like inclusive and they being the left, I guess, that they're preach the like understanding people and shit, but then there's a certain group of people that doesn't apply to, and
that group is getting bigger and bigger, and the left is getting smaller and smaller. Like I've heard expressions like libs eating libs. Like it's like they're going to come around for everyone, and everyone wants to kind of show off and be like, well, I am this extreme against them. And pretty soon you're going to have like 5 people left who are like the perfect people, and they're not perfect. People just don't know about their backgrounds, their secrets, and whatnot. And that's really it.
Yeah, I mean, judge not lest thou be judged harshly, and I feel like, you know, those are the people that are judging. I feel like they need to be looked at, and they will be, because no one's perfect, and whoever like throws the first stone is going to be the one that people are looking at. I feel like, because
definitely.
I mean, most people are pretty decent, most of them, and
there's this idea that I kept forgetting, but like if even like you said, it should protect freedom of speech is the only thing that makes America different than all the other countries. And if someone, like you said, you want to hear it. If I was the type of person and I was like, and I'm not going to use examples, but you know what I mean, like, that person is that, you know, that racial slur and blah, 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 and they're the devil and I hate them and they're blah, blah. The herd is going to come around and go, dude, what's your problem? We don't like you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to expose myself. Everyone's going to see, like, we don't like you. We heard what you just said. So it doesn't make any sense. All it does is subvert it. I'm not going to go into examples of my life, but I mean, I'm not a crybaby. I haven't had the easiest life, and people in subversive ways online have let me know that they've done full background checks on me. They know who's passed away in my life, who's this, who's that, how it happened, blah, 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 blah. So I laughed. I'm like, because I was starting to almost think that these woke people were better than us. You know what I mean? Like that they'd evolved somehow with online and, you know, equality and inclusivity, and they preach it and preach it, and I hear it so much. I'm like, maybe I'm a bad person. I was almost like brainwashed until I saw all these people who openly, publicly say one thing, and then, you know what I mean? They throw their arrows and their poison darts. They're just like all this. All it does is make it subversive. It pushes it under, and like usually with like a black racial slur, like lots of times that black person rather will say, you know what, I'm glad they said it because now I know how they feel. And I used to think that they were kind of being self-righteous, but now I totally get it. They're like, good, that person identified themselves. I know the way they think, I know how they act, and I can act accordingly, you know, instead of just like, no. And people have said it kind of, they want to nerf the world or like take out the sharp edges and whatever. And like I said, it doesn't do people any good to live in that world because it's not real. And people just, all they do, excuse me, I grew up kind of in a part of San Diego. I don't know if you remember when the guy came out with his Klan mask. Like in 2020, he came out with a Klan, because they were forcing people to wear masks. And he came out with a Klan mask. He's like, okay, I'll wear a mask. And I don't know if it was pretty big news. It was like in the beginning of 2020. So I grew up right near that area, and I you know, had American Me guys kind of like try and recruit me when I was in middle school and stuff like that. But there was an open dialogue, and it wasn't hidden, you know. So it's just going to make people hide it. That's pretty much it.
I could see the benefit of people just going ahead and saying how they feel, and then you could, like, their own peer group, doesn't need to be some person they don't know, will like maybe correct them and be like, yo, we don't do that anymore. Like that's 20 years ago. We've all kind of evolved. And I have a daughter who's 20, and you know, she likes to make me think that they're better, you know, like you were just saying. They're more, what'd you say?
I said, I'm sorry. I said they're enlightened.
Yeah, exactly. They're enlightened, and they just wanted to be, you know, I'm like, it's gotten so much better. Like, what are you complaining about? Like, it used to be bad. Now I thought it was good. Like, I was under the impression everything was kind of at least moving in the right direction. And then it's like, yeah, but it's not fast enough. And, you know, and now there's new groups that we need to protect, and further, like, dissecting us further and further into these categories that are special, and we have to be very careful what you say because this group that has like 3 people in it might be offended, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, they're marginalizing everything. I mean, it's gonna get to the point where, like, I don't even know how to say it. Like, you see somebody that gets in a car accident and they lose like 1 finger, and then you're gonna have another person go, "You've only lost 1 finger. I've lost 2 fingers." Then you're gonna have another person that say, "Well, I've lost 3 fingers." And you know what I mean? I've lost you. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be so marginalized where you're gonna have every single person kind of crying a river, for lack of a better word, for their circumstances. And it's not going to mean anything anymore.
Times are weird. We're here. It's 2022, and you brought yourself to our attention because you're working on it being like a stand-up comedian. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Once things open up, yeah, definitely. I've been a paralegal all my adult life, and did it kind of the traditional way, going to college and all that kind of stuff. And I just started getting older and started just realizing that I might as well be happy and do what I want to do. So it just kind of, it was kind of a me against the world. It was kind of a fun. I was in theater as a kid. I was a theater kid, believe it or not, like a diehard type, in plays, and like I was probably in like, I had local theater in my school. I was in a school, like middle school, where we'd get there an hour and a half early, and then I was in like Balboa Park in San Diego. So I was like a theater nerd. So a lot of this stuff really just clicked. Like when I started doing it again, I made progress a lot faster than I even anticipated, as far as my comfort and my ability to write and stuff like that. And actually, that's a perfect segue. I was going to bring up, like, I have no idea. I've been in a total vacuum this whole time. So as far as I know what I did on Twitter, I know how I made my, kind of my mark, if you will, and I know what I was doing. And I looked around when I was doing it, and no one else was doing anything like I was doing as far as artistic expression on Twitter at all. And my first stint, and then they booted me, and then my second one, and it seemed like when I got back on, everyone was not being shy at all with using just kind of like different, retweets, and then essentially a retweet of, a cool story, and then put a GIF on top of it. And then I put like a little emoji on there and make that talk. So I'd get like the whole thing going, and it was fun, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I was just going to ask you, is that really the case? I mean, this is going to sound like I'm being arrogant, but no one ever hit the GIF button. Like, no one ever knew that there was that whole like library there, because they were too like focused and obsessed on talking trash to each other. Is that a true statement? No, I'm curious. I don't. Is that true, or like, were you on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter. I'm at Bobby the Bank, and I did not know there was a GIF button. I don't think. You're right.
I mean, I'm just wondering. I mean, yeah, because it sounds like I'm patting myself on the back, but I've never had anybody to really talk to about this. But I definitely know that after I got on, like, people were definitely changing their attitudes and and they started, when I was gone, they started the paid tweet things. So I mean, that must have something to do with it. I mean, I would be kind of embarrassed if I was, demonizing someone who came up with an awesome idea and then wanted to take that idea because it was really good, but I didn't want to have someone constantly pointing out, going, "Hey, why are you guys doing what I was doing, but you're charging people? That's not cool." And that's pretty much my attitude towards it.
I'm not a fan of Twitter that much anymore. I'm trying to get off most social media. Sorry, Twitter. It's too negative. I mean, that's a cliche, but I don't, like the fact that there's still a few people on that we like and sponsor, like Tim Dillon and Michael Malice and Dave Smith. But I feel like they're walking a fine line. I'm curious how they haven't gotten kicked off, but other people have. And I think
they're smart about it. I'm a big fan of all those guys, and I think they just, because for marketing, for certain stuff, I mean, I'm not going to demonize people and be like, "Oh, you have to get rid of it," or or "You shouldn't be on there because I got booted," or like other cool people got booted. But yeah, you have to walk on eggshells and walk the line, and and then it makes all those people less interesting and less funny, because anybody that knows it's creative or artistic at all, if you have to sit there and kind of like, walk on eggshells or be, oh no, what am I going to, the second you are inhibited about what you want to say or do, you can't be, your art is going to suffer. It's not going to be as cool. It's not going to be as persuasive or et cetera. If you have to be scared, oh no, should I, I never had to do that. And obviously it got the wrong people's attention, I guess you could say. But I just went, the second I would do something and whatever, I call it getting my jollies. I get like kind of excited, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh yeah, that's a perfect idea. That's awesome. And totally. I never had that. Whenever I had the, oh no, I'm going to get in trouble. I hit it. You know what I mean? Like, because that was almost what told me, no, go with that feeling. This is good. That's what you know your heart, you can read what you're saying. You know your words and how they're, and it, to give even more empathy towards kind of the woke generation, like I get it. They see something and it's almost like lock on and they take it down. You know what I mean? Because it's just that mentality. So it's almost like it's weird trying to empathize and relate with people and say, well, I guess I get they saw a word or they saw this and they have been programmed or to think like that's bad. Like, that word when like context really and, all those type of things. It's the context of it. It's okay. Read the whole thing. You don't just like, that word, guilty. I mean, there are politicians. I think Ted Cruz mentioned the Nazi flag once or whatever. And like Twitter blows up like he endorses Nazis or he liked Nazis or whatever. And I don't even remember what he was referring to, but it had nothing to do with Nazis. It literally, I mean, I can't even remember. It was so simplistic, but they locked onto that and they said, he's a Nazi, he supports them. And it's just like, God, they're looking too hard. Like you said, it's the when things are so perfect that you're freaking out over little tiny things like that, that's kind of a sign of that we're going in the right direction. If people can cry, for lack of a better word, for such minimal little things and words, you know what I mean? Like, you hurt my feelings. Well, tough. This is America. Like, you know what I mean? It's just crazy. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's like what happened to America. We used to be tough. But I would say this, that if the shit hit the fan and we had to band together and fight against a foreign nation or alien, we would. I think Americans are still tough. They just forgot. And they're showing their toughness online because that's where everything is now. That is real life. There hardly is human interaction in public compared to how it used to be, I guess. It's like everything is online. And so if you are canceled online, it feels like you're being canceled, but you could cancel yourself. You could turn off all your social media and say, fuck this. I'm done.
I did that. Yeah, it's brutal. I mean, it was warping my perception of reality. I mean, I've been alone, kind of in like a solitary, for lack of a better expression, for this whole quarantine for most of it. So especially if you don't have like real people interaction and that's your only, I kind of know. And again, this is me being empathetic. I can see how people get, oh my God, no. Like, you know what I mean? Like and then there's like, that's my only identity. I see that fear. I understand that. I'm empathetic towards like younger people who grew up with this. If we want to get real, when I was in middle school, if I had social media, I'm going to be totally honest with you because I've thought about this a lot. I would have driven multiple people to suicide. And then I would have probably ended up killing myself. And the saddest part about that is it would have had nothing to do with guilt for what I did before. It would have been shocked and like, oh my God, you came for me? Like, weren't you with me? Didn't you hearted me when I hurt all those other people? Like, aren't we on the same side? And I'm just honest with myself. There's something in the universe where I'm so grateful that I did not have to grow up with that stuff because I can see how it would mess you up like forever.
This episode is brought to you in part by Element Kombucha. It's a new sponsor. We're very excited. They sent me a care package, and I drank them all. I can't even show you. I could show you this empty bottle right here, but it's Element Kombucha. They have CBD infusions, THC free, really tasty blends. You know, kombucha is good for the gut bio. So if you have been taking antibiotics, it's always good to take some probiotics. And Element Kombucha is sponsoring this show. They're supporting us. So we're asking you to support them. They actually have really good prices. It's like 10, 15 bucks for a 6 or 8 pack on their different options. They have variety packs, or you can just get the Summer Vibes blend, whatever you want. It's at elementkombucha.com. Promo code RPG11 will save you 11% on your purchase, and they'll know that we sent you, and we would appreciate the support. Last but not least, SHEATHunderwear.com, the greatest underwear on the planet, the underwear of legends, the underwear that keeps your balls from sticking to your legs. That's right. This is the best underwear because it keeps your boys cool. Check out SHEATHunderwear.com. Back to the show. Yeah, we didn't have that when we were kids.
Yeah, the back of people write stuff in the back of books or like on the bathroom wall, you know what I mean? Like for a good time, you know what I mean? Go like what if that was traumatizing enough? Dude, a comedian, I forget who it was, but he's like back in the day with us, it was like, dude, you got your ass kicked at that one party. Now it's like, hey, dude, this is you, the video of you getting your ass kicked at that party. You know what I mean? Like, that's traumatizing. Like, that's kind of crazy. And that's what's helped me relate to, you know, because I want to understand stuff. I don't want to, it's dismissive. They're lame. They were, you know, born in this time. And so they're just, you know, wrong or they're just messed up. That's too dismissive. It's too easy. That's not going to get us anywhere in trying to figure out, you know, how we can unify everybody.
Yeah, we can't be dismissing the young people, and we're all in this together. And I think in a lot of ways they're right. And when it comes to the old ways being old, but they're wrong in the way that their approach of getting people to comply. Because it's not going to work. People don't comply. I'm going to fucking not comply just because you told me to comply.
Yeah, believe me, I was in there a couple of times. Exactly. You're gonna force me. No, you know what? I'm going to say it to spite you because you're trying to make me. And it's absurd. Yeah.
So it's the methods at which they are, the methods they're using, and that they're not being compassionate for people who were born in a different time because they don't know any better. And in the grand scheme of things, like, it's fucking really good here. It's better than it is anywhere else in the world. We are the most progressive country, probably. I don't care what anyone else says. And the people
are coming from all corners of the globe and risking their lives and risking everything for not why? Because it sucks? No, because it's the greatest nation on the planet. The end.
Yeah. And there's the most opportunity, and our people are just lazy. Like, and when immigrants come here, they become millionaires because they bust their ass. And people that were born here say there's no opportunity when, well, then how come these immigrants are coming in here and being successful?
Dude, I've talked with so many Uber drivers that are immigrants, and they were all pro President Trump. Every single one of them. They were like, I live on the border. Let me tell you something. Anybody that thinks that an immigrant that comes here and works hard and makes the journey and gets in, and then they're like, oh yeah, let everybody in now. No, wrong. Even if it's their same nation, wrong. They're like, you know what? I have Mexican friends. They're like, I'm proud of my people. I'm proud of them, but get in line and go and do it the way my parents did. You know what I mean? And that's the racism of the left. They literally think that they're confused. They're really confused. There's an immigrant class, and they're of themselves, and they appreciate America the most. And I can't even tell you how many Uber drivers I talked to, and they were like, I thought that I was going to rub them the wrong way, but they started getting bad. They're like, no, yeah, you're right. They started like, and I started laughing. I'm like, wow, people are really off base with, it's racist, right? To think that, oh, they're an immigrant from that country, So then they're gonna. It just doesn't make sense. It's not.
Well, to assume the way they're going to think is racist. Well, they're Mexicans, so of course they're going to want to let all the Mexicans in. No, I don't want to let all of the. Yeah, I mean, here's a like a curveball. I do want to let all the Mexicans in, kind of, not all of them, but here's why, and especially right now is they're hardworking, good people. You're in San Diego, you know.
Yeah.
They're all, but also, I mean, I would say you're in San Diego, so you might know something different. But my point in saying the whole thing is these fucking lazy Americans that don't want to work. Let's get some, you know, like everywhere I go, stores are closed down because they can't even fill like the shifts to operate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if we had more quote Mexicans who just so happen to want to work for cheaper and work harder, then it might teach some people here a lesson in work ethic or something. And like,
you know, definitely they'll up their game, or else they'll be usurped and they'll be left in the dust. And they'll be the ones that are looking for, you know, immigrants don't look for handouts. They didn't get here by handouts. They didn't get, you know what I mean? They wouldn't be here. They would still be in their own country, just like sitting there or like whatever. Or they would have, you know, family members come over and, you know, like it's just, it's a whole, it's racist. It's reverse racism to think. It's not even, I don't even know how to put it. It's ignorant. It's stupid to just to classify people and to, you know, an immigrant from any country, and like it's hard to explain. Or even with the African Americans, I mean, just like they Black Lives Matter. People saw through that at the beginning. Cause that's another thing. That's like Black Lives Matter. Who's going to argue with that? You know what I mean? Like I don't want to go on the record. Like when it first came around, and it kind of before you started realizing how entrepreneurial all the people that were in it, and how basically like it's kind of a farce, really. So at the beginning, that's how they get their foot in the door, because I don't want to be the first white guy to be like, no, I'm against Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? Who the hell wants to say that? But then I'm sure there are plenty of black people who, like, after it started unfolding, going, yeah, I'm not for like lighting stuff on fire or whatever they ended up doing. I don't, you know, like it seemed like a lot of really angry. In 2020, I saw a lot of really horrible violence that reminded me of Grand Theft Auto, except real life. You know, it was really frightening. You know,
that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it looked like. It looked like end of days, and shit was fucking all coming down. And yeah, of course, Black Lives Matter. All lives matter, but you can't say that.
I know that was demonized, right? All lives. How dare you say that? I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah. Geez.
Is it especially Black Lives Matter, or only, or I mean, no, and I know what it is, and I've had this conversation with my daughter, and it's just like you're by saying all lives matter, you're taking away from the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's all fine because they're all true. All the statements are true, but now we're just like parsing it out to this meaning and intention because by saying all lives matter, you're really saying Black lives don't matter or something. And I'm like, that's not at all what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just, it's weird how the tables have turned. Like how now, I mean, white men are being attacked, whereas, you know, in the past it was immigrants and black people, and now it's like white men being attacked for being white, and it's not funny and it's not cool, and I don't like it at all. No, because it's like the reverse of everything. It is just, it's strange like that it's happening, and I feel like it's actually kind of from the top, and we're all in this weird experiment, and they're planting for the past 10-20 years these ideas that white men are these dopey kind of like idiots that are just kind of racist and whatever.
And dumb and incompetent. A lot of people have mentioned like comedians, like in the commercials, you always see the white guy, the dad is this idiot, this bumbling idiot, you know, and
Right.
it's weird. I remember, you know, I remember the kind of like 92, 3, 4-ish, I started feeling the beginnings of it. And a lot of people I know, it's like, what am I going to do? Complain that I'm a white guy? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's kind of where it's starting, you know, like, oh, I'm so abused, you know, like, but it's just like an overcorrection of like, well, we need to make up for all that time when you guys had it good, you know, like, you know, white privilege, male privilege. I'm telling you, I don't have either of those things. I have never had any of those things. And anyone, unless you come from a trust fund family or like remotely have like whatever, most white people I know, like they're fighting it out the same way as everybody else. And the weird thing is that, okay, this is the hypocrisy that I don't like, because there's all this, you know, tear down the statue of this guy or tear down the statue of that guy. Like he did this when he, you know, like, so, okay, so then don't use anything that person was responsible for, you know what I mean? Like for bringing to the table or inventing. Like, let's say they invented the wheel. I'm just totally making this up. Don't use wheels anymore. Big shot.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're so evil. Oh no, that like they would just come up with some lame ass excuse like, oh, well, that's different because how's my car gonna move? You don't get it. You're supposed to have pride. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to believe in what you're saying. So you don't want that wheel. That wheel is invented by a mean, angry, you know, bad guy that said hi to somebody that had a slave or whatever you want to do it. So don't use anything. Don't use medicine. You know what I mean? Don't use anything that came from any of those people that you want to tear down that statue. But they're not going to do that because that would actually mean taking a real stand instead of just, you know, posturing online or whatnot.
Yeah, this public display, like we care, but I'm not willing to sacrifice something for my beliefs. Like, I mean, the thing with back then was like that was the way it was, and if you were born into that system, and were you supposed to, and maybe you were, but were you supposed to be the one who was like, this is wrong, I'm not doing this, and probably you should have done that. But if you didn't and you went along with what was happening in society, like because that was the norm, I don't know if that makes you like a horrible person. I mean, if you were bad to them and beat them and like abused, whatever, but maybe you were one of the good ones. I mean, it's so complicated because the white men of the North were the ones that fought and died to free the black men, but those people aren't recognized. Those white men are like not recognized as heroes. They're just like, it's all bad. They're all bad.
And you just actually made me think of something. So what people should do who are posturing like that, have they ever thought maybe they should go and they should research their grandparents and their great grandparents and see how they were acting? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then I can literally go, your blood was guilty too, so shut up, right? I mean, you can't be. I mean, otherwise, then literally give away all the stuff that they gave you. You know what I mean? Don't take their this or that. I mean, but that would take too much effort, you know, right? I mean, it's just easier to say it. And that's the one thing that is frustrating. I never really thought about that. Yeah, they should.
People don't want to look at themselves. They want to blame other people.
It's easier.
Yeah.
Fun.
Well, I mean, like Ice Cube says, and every now and then I use this quote, but you better check yourself before you're riggedy wreck yourself.
Yeah.
Because you might be a hypocrite saying all this stuff about other people, and because it's usually other white people too. It's the weirdest thing. There's white, maybe Karens, but maybe Kevins, I think they're called, or whatever now. And it's like, dude, you're white. Like I guess you're bad too, because like I don't understand what you're getting at by calling me bad. And I should I. It's like my daughter and people will say like, you shouldn't even feel like you're a part of that because you're not racist or whatever. But it's like, but it's so blanketed and it feels like it's an attack on all white people. And we're all a lot of us are just mixes of all sorts, like different kind of races now. What's that?
It's a great American melting pot. It was cool to hear like a Jim Brown and Mike Tyson kind of coming out and going, if I didn't have white people help me, I wouldn't have had anything in my life. You know what I mean? And they name the, the coaches and the boxing custom auto and different, so it's like, settle down with your, I didn't hear anybody say this, but it's just like, there are no fire hoses anymore. There are no like dogs being, like they're all that stuff. If you should be grateful that the people made those sacrifices and went through all that stuff. So that stuff doesn't exist anymore. So it's like, what are we really talking about? I mean,
we've corrected the errors. Like, we meaning
society.
Society. Like it still mainly consists of old white men. And if they were really so bad, wouldn't it have stayed bad? Like, I don't. So, and then you're still like this effort to condemn and demonize, but we're trying to do better. So what are you doing? You're making me want to fucking be an asshole.
Yeah, Obama was in the White House 8 years. I mean, damn, dude. I literally was just right. I don't care about politics one way or another. President Trump got me excited because they were impeaching him before he took office. Like, you know what I mean? I don't even want to get into all this because it's so frustrating. The Mueller report and impeachment, like a hearsay, to hear a rumor. So it's like, can you imagine what that guy could have done if they would have just left him alone for 4 years and he didn't have to deal with COVID and whatever? But that's a whole other thing, man.
I agree with you though. I mean, like him together with Elon Musk and just an army of Mexicans,
right.
But like, fucking just going at it, building a wall, building a fucking staircase to the moon or whatever, to Mars. Like, so much stuff could, like, probably a whole new infrastructure for America could have got done in 4 years or something crazy. Because I read the book Art of the Deal, and there was this ice skating rink in New York City that was just a decade of work. The city couldn't get it done, and he comes in and just 6 months, it's under budget and like beating like the time that he said it was going to take. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yeah.
But
he came in there and he held everyone, like they wanted him gone so fast because they had to do their jobs. Like if they do their job properly, then government will not exist. Like George Washington and all those, they were part-time politicians. They didn't. I would love to ask President Trump, because I swear I think this is what he did. He got in there and he said, give me a cheat sheet. Tell me who's the head, who's the top of where does the buck stop or whatever? Like, who's the head of education? Who's the head of transportation? And he's like, give me a cheat sheet and tell me how good they're doing. You know what I mean? And then everyone that was not doing their job, I think he just like called them in or went and said, hey, what's going on? He's like, yeah, you're not really doing a good job. This is kind of like under my watch. And I think he just said, yeah, you better get it. I think he just held everyone accountable to do their jobs. And they didn't like that because when who wants to be held accountable when you've set?
Yeah, it stings. Yeah, it's like, who are you? Who are you telling me how to do my job? I was here before you got here or something like that. Yeah.
And it makes them look bad. Like, what are you trying to do? Make me look bad? He's like, no, people said, no, you're doing that yourself. I'm just like pointing it out. You know what I mean? Like, you're not doing your job. So, I don't know how else, because I don't know enough about the economy to know how that works, but I know that even the left cannot deny that it was the greatest economy America's ever had before COVID and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And when you can't hear the left at all attack something, then, you know what I mean? Then you have to just admit, okay, that was true. That was real. So how did he do it? Another thing about President Trump, which he admitted, if he could have got a coalition of businessmen beforehand to be like, hey, we're on the same side. He could have sold out America 1 million times over. So I don't even understand what they're talking about. The guy actually, and I think his ego was involved, obviously. When he was being humiliated during that alumni press dinner, whatever hell it was, when they were
Obama?
Like, oh, was that? Yeah, you'll never be president. I wanted to go in and hug him. He was sitting there and eating it, and I'm going, you guys are messing with the wrong guy. You guys are messing up really bad. And he showed them all. He made it his mission. And he got in there, and then it was like, hey, I'm going to be held accountable. as the CEO of America or whatnot, like Calvin Coolidge and Harding and whatever, just going at it. No, this is a company, and he took it seriously, and he had everything against him. How do you impeach someone? In the Russia thing, that's disproven because the one guy's in jail, right? The one dude who tried to push it, that's like it's not even an issue anymore yet. Like, kind of like to check yourself before you wreck yourself. How many people chirp that over and over? Putin's sitting back just going, yeah, dude. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, my street credibility is so awesome. And yeah, it was ridiculous. I mean, I don't know why I went off on that, but it was just, he didn't even have a chance coming in, and look what he did. In the media, give me a break.
Yeah, the whole thing was a disaster because of the way he was kind of railroaded from the beginning, and it's like all these negative, or not negative, but false allegations or whatever. And he came up with the term fake news, and that was, you can't say fake news and alternative facts. And now those are kind of common themes, and everyone knows that news is fake, and there are alternative facts because you have these scientists on one side saying one thing and scientists on another side saying another thing. But you can't even associate yourself with him, or you'll be canceled. And I didn't vote for him, but I did support him, and I was inspired by him. And I think the main reason the economy did as well as it did is because he energized people as opposed to criticized people, like Biden, my wife calls him. He's not inspiring anyone to be great, and like, sure, Trump might have been like an asshole to some people. I thought he was kind of funny myself, but
I loved it.
Yeah, like some people just hated him, and okay, fine, but like he had an energy and a positive mental outlook. There were certain things he did that I didn't like, but like for the most part, I was just like, this is awesome. This is fucking great. I'm watching the show every day on Fox, eating my donuts and drinking my coffee, and just this is hilarious. But it sucked how like the media did what they did, and it just like kind of was a punch in the gut, and he never could really do anything. And maybe that's good, because I don't think government should be doing all that much, but especially spending. They need to fucking quit spending so much fucking money.
Yeah, right.
If they're not, like, where's it going?
Into people's pockets. I mean,
Yeah.
it's too complicated to trace it and whatever. I don't want to disappear. You know what I mean? Other people don't want to disappear, so they don't ask questions, but follow the money. And that's usually who's doing the good or the bad, depending on what's going on.
Yeah, I feel like it's all just going up and like into politicians and special interest pockets, and they're not showing us where it's going. And so that tells you something, like, and they're doing all these little, look over here, look at what this atrocity, look at the people that are being mean to trans people, and yeah, I know it happens. I'm sorry, but should it be world headline news, or are they trying to distract us from something?
Yeah, definitely they are, without a doubt. Someone brought up something interesting, and I forget the specifics, but they were talking about all of the mass shootings, and there was one, and I forget which ones, but the Vegas one and the other ones and this and that, and they literally correlated those shootings with big legal decisions, or big, like, literally they said, like, Epstein, this or this, that. And you know what I mean? It was like right on the button. It's literally like the day before they happened. So, I mean, again, I don't get into that stuff. Like, that's not my platform. I don't do stand-up about that. I don't do anything, although I did when I was on Twitter and this and that, but I don't want that to be my identity. But I listen and I respect those people, and I like the fact that they're doing that kind of stuff, because that's really, there's no such thing as a coincidence, I don't think, especially big stuff like that. Nah.
Yeah. Like that some bill is supposed to be passed or whatever, or is passed, and it's going to be this news story like, oh my God, they passed this bill that can like surveil all of America. And then boom, bombing. Oh, look at that bomb over there. Some people died and it was racists. And can you believe the racists in America? And it's just like, but didn't you just pass a bill that you was outrageous? And now and as Americans, we forget that it happened. Short-term memory.
There's a great line from a Billy Joel song that I like to reference. It's funny because you wouldn't think Billy Joel would have. He has this. It's a song called "Close to the Borderline," and it's stuff that like drives him crazy. Crime and this and that and the other. And the very last line of the song is, "I'd start a revolution, but I don't have time." You know what I mean? Everyone's so preoccupied with going right. You know what I mean? Like, and you just move on. That's how that stuff flourishes and exists. Everyone's got to pay their bills. They got to support their families. They got to, it's like, and it's plus with online and so much media and so much information, it's like, wait, what happened with that? That blah, blah, blah. And say, oh yeah, that didn't happen. That wasn't real, 3 months later or something like that. And trying to decipher everything. It's just crazy.
Yeah. It's too much it's too much for one person to even be worried about. I should not be worried about Hillary Clinton's emails or the dossier of fucking that from Russia that had Trump peeing on prostitutes. I
didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's what started the whole in Russia hoax, and our investigation was this dossier that was funded by the Clintons, and the lawyer is actually the one going to jail. I think you had said earlier, but the Clintons will never go to jail, which is fine. I don't even expect them to, because rich people get away with shit. OJ got away with murder. I'm not even surprised. Sommelier is going to get away with Smollett. I call him Sommelier. He's going to, he got convicted. I think he got off and then he got convicted, and I'm sure he's not going to do time. Who does time anymore that has the resources to get out of it?
Yeah. I'm going to go kind of a different way here. But basically, I think that anyone that doesn't believe in God is either an idiot or a liar, because actually you're a veteran. So I saw this Korean War documentary, and they asked this guy about, about how you being scared, being, et cetera, et cetera. And he had the greatest line. He said, "There's no such thing as an atheist in a foxhole." Right. You know what I mean? The way I modified it, there's no such thing as an atheist on your deathbed. You're not going to double down and start flipping off the invisible. You're going to start talking to the invisible guy in the sky and saying, "Oh, help, I'm scared, I'm scared." So whether you call it God, a higher power, the universe, the simulation, whatever you call it, we're all going to be held accountable for what we do. And that's why I'm calm and cool with everything I've done in this life. I think there's an eye in the sky above our, that's watching it. Maybe they're aliens. I don't know, but I know that we're all going to be held accountable for what we do, and we're all being monitored.
I agree with you, and I will add that there's also, I think maybe, and I don't like the idea, but that with their light, there's dark, and with the angels in heaven, there's demons in hell. And the tricky thing with asking for help from Jesus or, whatever, is you're opening up these portals to both sides. And this is kind of quasi deep or whatever, but I like God and the universe and Jesus and love them. Big fan. But every time I would try to get kind of closer to them, I found these weird coincidences that would just kind of sting me, quick little burn. I would get a flat tire or something, what the fuck? I never get flat tires, and all of a sudden I'm trying to be in with the Lord, and then I get a flat tire, and then I feel like the demons are fucking with me.
Oh no, that's the opposite thing, dude. That's God going, okay, that's God testing you. So no, But you know what I mean? No, seriously. And he's like, that's the whole trick, is to go through that and still believe. And then you make it up on the back end or whatever. I swear, that's what I've learned in life. It's a lot of, he's going, okay, you think, oh, you believe in me? Okay, I'm gonna give you a flat tire. Okay, I'm gonna make you trip in front of the girl you like and eat, you know what I mean? Or whatever. Like, and do you still like me? And like, yeah, dude, I do. And then, like I said, it evens out. But I think that's God doth have a sense of humor. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely. I've heard it said that he might even be a trickster. And I mean, like a sense of humor, he's having fun at ours. Yeah, so I definitely believe, and I think that was one of the rules, and I'm definitely a big fan. I've been baptized, and I've done, I mean, I don't know if all that counts. I don't know what exactly matters, but I'm on that side.
That's all man stuff. Like, man is what messes up. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like in the Matthew, Mark, and John, and like the whatever. They wrote it 80 years out. Anybody who takes the Bible literally is kind of a knucklehead. You know what I mean? Like, my grandparents took it literally. Like back in the Great Depression. It's not to be taken literally. I don't believe that Adam and Eve were the first people, and we would all have like whatever it's called. We would all have like 4 arms or whatever. Like, it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, I don't take stuff like that literally. I forgot where I was going with that. But
well, let's see. So you can't take it literally because you said that the books were actually written like 80 years.
Yes. The whole thing, like, divine inspiration, that's kind of the man's, way of saying, hey, the Bible is straight from God because, God came into the hand of the people writing it. 80 years after, like, they're going to have bad memories. And not only that, I can't, it's not like I can cite the Bible verbatim, but I know, going from Catholic school, there are a couple of things that happen in the Bible where they even contradict each other. You know what I mean? Like, Matthew will say one thing and Mark will say the other about the exact same thing. So what, did God mess up when he was telling them what to write? No, it was 2 dudes that 80 years later were like, whoa, I want, you know what I mean? They're trying to get it down, but they're not. So to take it literally I have a problem because a lot of people use that as a sign of their intelligence. I don't believe that this or that, or, I don't believe in the fake guy in the sky. It's just like, it's more than that. It's not to use that as a sign that you're more intelligent than people. That when I don't believe anybody like genuinely believes all of those stories, that happening. I'm sure they're exact. I mean, I don't know. My older people, do you know people like our age or younger that they believe like Adam and Eve? I mean, I don't want to start marginalizing different religions and stuff, but most people I know kind of take it with a grain of salt. Is that the expression?
Yeah. You take you take what makes sense, I guess, and then maybe leave out what doesn't. Is that a grain of salt?
Yeah, walk on water. No, I don't really. I think people get. I think people stories get exaggerated. So I think maybe like in the Dead Sea, it has a high salt content. So maybe he walked on water for like a couple of feet or whatever, and they're like, oh my, it's like the fish story. The fish isn't that big, it's that big. You know what I mean? So Guys were like, no, man, we need to hype our man Jesus and say, no, man, he was walking on water for 5 miles and, turned bread. And you know what I'm saying? Like, there's stories,
Lazarus, he raised Lazarus from the dead.
The bottom line is world history and how Jesus died, Muslim history, the Crusades, Roman history, world history, like that happened. He pissed off people by telling the truth, and he made people really mad. But and he, like he did something right or wrong, and it's kind of interesting because in the musical Jesus Christ Superstar. Excuse me, there's a line in it. Did you mean to die like that? Was that a mistake? Or did you know your message that would be a record breaker? You know what I mean? Was he just some guy and he was like, yeah, man, and he just died, and he was kind of like, a little off in his head, not crazy, but just like he was a man. There was a guy there. Like he wasn't, he questioned God. He was in the Garden of Gethsemane and he's like, God, what's the deal, man? This sucks. I've been doing everything you've been telling me. So he questioned. He was on the cross. He's like, why have you abandoned me? Why have you forsaken me? So he wasn't perfect. He was a human being that cried and that had feelings and whatever. But then the thing so his whole life, it can't really be denied what kind of impact he had on the people around him. It's just a question of, when he died, did he become God and all that stuff? But you can't deny the message. Look, even Muslims, I've met Muslims, they love Jesus as much, if not more, than Christians. Because they literally, I've talked with people, Muslims from other countries, and they swear to me they believe that in their lifetime Jesus is coming back. Like, if you read in Islam, Jesus is like a major focus of their religion. Like, not in the fanatical aspect of it, but in the traditional Muslims, Jesus is a rock star just as much as he is in Christianity and Catholicism and etc.
I've heard that.
It's true. It is
and
true.
Like that, he was a prophet. They call him a prophet or something. They say maybe he wasn't the son of God, but I'm not sure about that.
And really, Buddhists, a lot of Buddhists I know think that, I forget what the storytelling is really bad in the Bible, like from like age 15 to like 30 or whatever. There's no, there's no accounting for what Jesus was doing. There are a lot of Buddhists that say he was studying Buddhism.
Yes.
And that's why a lot of his beliefs, are like so that way of like love everyone, love your enemy, don't attack. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Just get through your life and then you'll pass on and everything will be good. So there's a lot of incorporations of, very little is separating all the religions. It's just the team, like this is my team. This is what I was born into. But we're all a lot more on the same team than people realize. We're just being divided by, fill in the blank.
100%. They're trying to divide us. United we stand, divided we fall. I don't think we're going to fall, but we're not going to rise up kind of like as we could as a people, as a nation against the corruption. Like, we're being taken advantage of. They're doing it right before our eyes, but we're not looking because we're over here distracted and fighting amongst each other over these little differences instead of looking at what's similar and what makes us, similar, I guess, or part of the whole. We're like, nah, you're not on my team. You're XYZ.
So much of this is frustrating because even if we fix it, even if everyone says, okay, we'll use, they, them. I don't even understand the pronouns. I'm not going to lie. I don't they, them. Like, even if we acquiesce, they're just going to find other stuff. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't help. There's no end game. It doesn't seem like, They're going to go, okay, now this, or now let's go on to this or that. And it's like, I don't know. It's just frustrating.
It's change is constant. I'm okay with, I mean, I'm going to try to be as cool as I can when it comes to people identifying a certain way. Especially within my relationships. If, we sponsored this woman, Blair White. She was, been on Rogan. She's been on,
I thought she was a pretty girl. I'm really bad at that. I thought she was a pretty girl.
Me too. Yeah. So right. So again, like, I'm not, and we've done that in the past with another guy, Laith Ashley, and we, sponsor Black athletes and Mexican and a world, like Asian and white, obviously, and like all of them, women, and what was my point? Shit. No discrimination, okay, and I want to be cool. I'm always going to be cool, and I'm never going to just be an asshole because I'm just not an asshole. Now, but the forced, I guess, compelled speech, if we got into the Jordan Peterson thing or whatever, where he's like,
oh yeah,
I just don't want it to be a law, because there's no other laws that have to address somebody some certain way. So let's not go there. But how about let's just, as a society, try to be cool and as influencers and like people of status or whatever, set an example, or no, just everyone set a good example and be nice. And because those people are not maybe like they must be confused and to some degree, because it's got to be confusing to be like, but I'm in this body, but I feel like I should be at this other body, and like not gonna try to even question that, because that's fucking got to be difficult, right? So, but like we need to be cool. They need to be cool. Like if we accidentally say sir and you're a ma'am, like, you know what the fucking deal is. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Unless I was intentionally trying to be an asshole. You know?
Yeah. No, definitely.
So I think we've come a long way since even I was, well, from movies and books I've read, I guess, over the past couple 100 years. I think it's time, like we're just a little bit better, but we could do, and we will. But just be patient.
I think we've come so far, it's not even funny. I think we don't get credit as Americans and as human beings. Give me a break. Look at you. You can just go look at movies from the 80s, 70s, 60s, like, and just see. You can see how, like, I don't want to give examples because I don't want people to go back and like burn these movies or burn, you know what I mean? Like Nazis and crap. Like, I don't want to destroy them, or because it's already happening, like Mark Twain and whatever, all this stuff. Let's take that. Let's take this. It gets crazy. And it just goes back to what we talked about before. Everyone in that time was cool with it. You know what I mean? So what do we do? Do we none of us can exist because we all have ancestors from that time. So if they didn't start the revolution or didn't do whatever, then they either, for whatever reason, they didn't think it was so bad that, and just, look how far we've come. It's really absurd. We need to get some credit. We need some of this, like for everyone. I mean, to thinking about all the people that I was raised around, or maybe you were raised around, and who put those bad ideas out there, and for us to have said no, we kind of sorted it out and said, I mean, there are people I'm like, I agree with that, but no, I don't agree with that at all, and this and that, and we all sorted it out on our own as people. And anyone, it's kind of like what you were talking about before. If I was around people and someone would say they would drop an N-bomb or they would drop whatever, they would do it in front of me though. So like I could go, oh yeah, totally, dude. But in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, I want to get away from this guy. This guy's a prick, or this guy's a jerk, right? Now they won't say it in front of people unless they're absolutely sure that those people feel the exact same way they do. So I can't even as a white guy, I can't even identify these people anymore, because the making laws about speech, all it does is make people look around. You know what I mean? And go make sure they have like-minded people around, and then they can talk about it. And then all they're doing is disservice to the good ones. I always thought of myself as like a spy. You know what I mean? Like if somebody started talking about gay people, I was in the theater my whole life. You know what I mean? Oh, starts yelling this word or that word. I could go, yeah, totally, me too. And I'd go, oh my God, I'd roll my eyes and tell my friends, yeah, this guy's, don't hang out with these people. But now they won't even that they're that way, so I can't identify them to help the people who are woke, who I could possibly help. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. Yeah. They're not helping themselves at all. Let someone talk. If you give someone enough rope, they will show you exactly who they are. Yeah. And if you don't, and if you let them speak. Let me speak, you speak, everyone speak, and we'll sort it out and we'll figure it out. But once you start regulating that, it's like other countries. It's like fascist countries, and all of it's just so anti-American. It's the only. I started looking into freedom of speech and this and that, and there were some great quotes that basically was like, if censorship is evil, like I mean, they're more eloquent than that, you know what I mean? But just nothing good about censorship at all. I couldn't find any, black activists from back in the day, Jewish, white, everyone. they're like, censorship sucks. Like, just no, in a much more eloquent way. So, and also like the bill, the Constitution, then the Bill of Rights. Why is it the first thing? Because after 10 or 20 years of America, they were like, yeah, dude, we need to have freedom of speech. Like, why do you think it was number one?
Wow.
And why do you think it's the only thing that differentiates America from any other country? The end. Like, there's nothing else that makes us different except for, the right to bear arms, other stuff like that. But freedom of speech, you can talk, you can talk crap. You can say whatever you want.
I feel like it's number one. It should be number one, and number two is to protect number one. They say the right to bear arms is to protect freedom of speech.
I never thought of that, but
but I'm gonna say what I want to say, and you can't stop me until I break a law or hurt someone physically, like do something that you should arrest me for. Let me just talk, like shoot my mouth off. Let me talk shit, and then my friends will shun me if I'm out of line, and then I'll self-correct. But kicking, and even on Twitter, like if someone said, you dirty, like whatever person, the mob would come after them and probably shut them up, although they probably keep doing it because then you get more of a response, maybe. But point being, it's not going to be like promoted in a positive way. They're going to get a negative response, and so rather than kick them off, let them show them who they are, and then the consensus will be like, that's not cool, and then more people aren't going to be doing that because they're going to see a negative response.
Yeah, the herd will react.
Yeah,
if you say something totally horrible, then the herd will go, yeah, no, they'll correct you. Say, no, that's wrong, but yeah, I don't. Censorship is not good. There's nothing.
Well, and we're gonna wrap it up here in a second, but like, Joe Rogan is getting like this pressure now. They were saying he's untouchable, but even the pressure is coming from this dropping stock price at Spotify, and he had to give that release statement of like, hey, I'm just trying to have conversations, I'm not trying to be an asshole, and the mob is fucking coming after him, and I thought he was untouchable, but I don't know if he is.
I don't think the sitting president of the United States was kicked off Twitter and censored.
Yeah, that's true.
No one's untouchable. Like when that happened, when that happened and no one cared, I was like, am I on Earth right now?
Yeah,
like,
right.
I don't care who the president was.
I care.
Even Biden, you know what I mean? He's a knucklehead. Let him talk, babble his stuff. You're gonna to censor the sitting president of the United States of America. I'm going to say it again in front of the whole world was insane. And he even said it. He was like, I'm trying to protect you, man, because if they can come after me, they'll come after you. They can get anybody. And that was proven. So we got to figure this out. I think
we got to figure it out.
Overplaying their hand. And I think this is all blowing up. And then when the next election comes, it's going to be really interesting because all of their tricks and everything that was played before, I think everyone's on notice, and they kind of, this is going to be a really interesting presidential election in the next, 2 years.
God. It's still 3 years away. It's unfortunate, but we need to figure it out, but we're not going to be able to do it on this episode. I do have to run. Thank you very much.
So much. Thank you.
Yeah. My pleasure. I appreciate it. We'll have to do it again sometime. That was great. Good. This is actually what I like, these kind of conversations, because it's kind of touching on all areas and letting ideas, opinions, and whatever sentiments out to.
I appreciate it. It felt really good and really organic and natural. And the closer I got to it, the more excited I got. I was kind of nervous, but as it got closer, I just reminded myself, this guy's a vet. This guy's a vet, and he's a nice guy. And, anyways, I'm really glad. Thank you. I'm babbling right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate all of you joining us, and we will be back next week with another episode. So until then, just, take care of yourself and stay free. I like to say, Russell Brand says that, stay free. So sounds good. Yeah. So, all right. Love you guys. Peace.
God bless.